In this session, we'll be changing your perspective. We'll be delving deep into display styles, creating our own. We'll be going into the backgrounds and fertling around in the shadows, and we'll be looking at section wall callouts at the end of it. So to start with, let's have a look at perspective. And up at the top of each of your views, here along the top is your view navigation bar. And the icon that's third from the end is called View Perspective, Change View Perspective. If you click on that, you can then click in your view and you place a new vanishing point. And then if you move your mouse up or down slowly, you'll see the perspective change of your model, giving it a far more dynamic look. And by clicking once more with your left mouse button, you set that perspective. And it works not only in isometrics, but also if we come here to our front elevation, you can see that it also works here to some dramatic effects. Once you've done that, if you need to, you can just come and fit the view. With that, we're going to start looking at display styles. Display styles, once again, let's come to the top of our view here to our view navigation, second icon in. This is our display style list. If we click and hold on this, you can see that we have immediate access to any or all of these display styles at any one time in any of our 8 individually and independent views in Building Designer. You can also, as soon as you've chosen one, let's say hidden line, and we're going to choose default. You can also then come to this drop box, which might be a little easier because then we can come down and start placing on here other different styles of display. Now, along with all of these are contained either as the project, in which case everyone has access to them to take advantage of them, or they can be bound in with a file. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make ourselves a local display style. To do that, we're going to come up to our settings menu, click on that and come down and click on Display Styles. The Display Styles dialog box opens and it's roughly split into 4 areas. Icons along the top, the type and name of the display style down the left, the parameters and values that drive those types and names of display styles on the right-hand side, and right at the bottom, a sweet little preview. However, we're going to take it one step further because we're going to create our own display style and we're going to drive it in the model that we're looking at so we can build them as we go and have a real idea of just what is happening as we impose the various properties onto our display style. So we're going to click on New, and we're going to call that style Project Model Display and then hit Enter. Once we've done that, it's now locked into our list of styles. And there's one other thing we can do here. Make sure in your options we have Usable for Views checked. Why? Because now if you come up to your navigation toolbar along the top of your view, click and hold, you'll see Project Model Display is now part of that list. And as a default, everything is wireframe. We're about to change all that dramatically because we're going to come to our render mode here, and under our display there's a jump box, and we're going to come down and select Visible Edges. And straight away you can start seeing the impact this is having. But there seems to be a little bit more definition we need. So we're going to come down to our overrides to element, click on this jump box. We're going to check our color here and then click on this and come down and choose roughly around about 126. And now what happens is that all the edges of our model have been flooded so that they are representing that color. But that color is a little difficult to see. So what we're going to do is come up here to our render mode under our display and use filled visible edges instead. And straight away, we have a totally new different type of display. But we may want to add more emphasis to this. So let's come to our overrides and our element again and select a color. And we're going to come down to 127. And we're going to choose a weight. And we're going to say 1, let's say. And straight away, we're giving more weight to the actual visible edges you can see here. In fact, we can go one step further because we can come down to the next section of edge settings, visible edges, and we can select a color here and override that by coming to, say, a more graphite color of, say, 8. And when we do that, we have a much better interpretation of that. In fact, if we come up back to our override and element and uncheck weight, we now have that very precise graphite color 8 along our edges, defining them and defining the areas that we can see. From here, we're going to come into our overrides once again, and we're going to check background, because what we're going to do now is not only choose the background for our model, but we can also take it one step further. So to begin with, we're going to choose color, and then we're going to click in this jump box here, which opens up a color swatch, which we can choose either the number, the RGB value, or the Pantone number for our background color. We're going to just come back to here, and we'll come down to 175. And straight away, we're seeing the ramifications of that choice straight away on our model. But we can go further than that. But before we do that, how about we come back up to render mode and we go to shaded instead. We come to our visible settings. We'll check on that. We'll impose those visible settings upon our model. We'll take it to our element, and you'll see that we have 127. We'll take that off, and we're reducing this back, or we're building this up to take the render parts from our database of our actual parts and family and imposing those onto our model. When it comes to backgrounds, as I said, we can go one step further because we can click on our color jump box and we can actually place a sky in there in the background. And with that sky, if you click on this magnifying glass, you have the options to change the zenith and the nadir colors to suit your needs. But also, you have the ability to click on this tab here and add in a ground plane and alter the various parameters involved with it. So that when you come to actually move your model around, and if it has illustration with shadows, let's say, you will see those shadows being thrown to the various sides or places from wherever your light source is coming from. So with that, the one option we need to make sure before we leave is to be able to have in our options settings down here, usable for clip volume set. And this allows us to actually impose this on our section callouts when we get to them in a few short minutes. But at this moment in time, we're going to uncheck our visible edges. We're going to uncheck our gradient sky and come back to our color. And with that, we're now going to go move forward, and we're going to start with having a look at some of the more advanced visualization display features that we have in Building Designer. So we close this dialog box down. We come across to our task-based interface, down to the visualization tab. Click on that, go to the second row down, first icon in, Light Manager. The Light Manager dialog box opens up and consists of a number of sections. There are some pull downs at the top, icons underneath that. Down the left-hand side, there's a series of light names, and to the right of those, there are the parameters and values that drive those actual settings. The one that we want is solar. And underneath solar, we want to click on the tab that says solar position. The solar tab opens, and Building Designer literally gives you a vast array of being able to give you the best tools out there to be able to define and finesse your building presentation in such ways as time and location, or the actual direction. We're going to choose a time and location because under that, you can specify an absolute date and a time about how you want your structure to be set. You can include GMT offset and include daylight savings with it. Or you can get more technical and go to the Latitude Longitude section here, which can get technical other than a Building Designer is there to assist you. Click on this icon to the right hand side of it gives you the position of every major city around the world. Besides that, you can click on this little icon here and get the long lats from Google Earth. Or as we're going to do is we're going to click on this open folder icon and get our long lats from a KML file that we previously used in our 3D site. Our Select Google Earth Placemark dialog box opens up, and we're going to just click on the C underbar Site 3D. Light Manager has gone away and recalculated all of the lighting values that can be available to us for the particular time, for the particular date, at that particular long and lat. We're going to change two more things here. First off, we're going to change our true north direction, and we're going to change that to 85.4 degrees north. With that, we're now going to include some of our references to put in situ. In other words, we're going to be bringing in our site that we created earlier. To do that, we're going to go to Project Explorer. And inside Project Explorer, we're going to click on the Links tab. And then underneath that, we're going to click twirl down the building models and twirl down design models. And in there, we're going to select our C underbar site 3D.dgn and literally click, hold, drag, and drop into one of your views. The attach source files dialog pops up. Our attachment method is going to be coincident, and we're going to click OK. Straight away, we have our structure in situ on our site. And now what we can do now is come back into Light Manager and click on this icon here, Modify Time and Date Graphically. As soon as we do that, our views are filled with an array of numbers and values. And if we take time just to zoom out a little bit here, you'll see straight away that in fact we have the 4 points of the compass. And if we hold our mouse over this series of numbers here and click on this sphere here, which represents the sun, we can actually now start placing the sun on a time, on a position that we choose. We can click on the sun in any of our views that are open and we can rotate it round. And if you look at the tooltip on the actual sun itself, you can see that it represents a date and a time of where the sun is on the inclination or declination and the point on the compass. The thing is here, we're not seeing an awful lot of shadows being cast, and there's a very good reason for that. It's because we need to come back into our display settings, in our settings menu, into our display styles, to go down to our project model display to check one more radio button that's under the render mode, display shadows. As soon as we do that, our display style is updated, and as soon as we close that down, we can now start utilizing it to its best ability. But do remember, come back to the top of your navigation view up here. The third icon in is your adjust view brightness. You may want to click on that and check that you haven't got the default lighting checked. If you have, uncheck it, because now we get to see some really stunning results. Remember, time and day. And you can see straight away the actual visual impact of where the sun is and the impact your structure has on the environment it's in, and maybe to the legislation that provides safeguards for both yourself and any of the occupants that are around the site itself. But at the end of the day, it provides you and your client with probably the best ability to look and analyze and present to them real world data using display styles and the ability in Light Manager to position the sun at a certain place at a certain time for them to consider, and for the striking impression that their structure is going to have, both for them and for those people who work in it. And that's display styles and solar shadows in EcoSim Building Designer V8i. Thank you very much.